Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is a podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, relationships, and more. For my 29th episode, I interviewed artist and comedian Zach Bartz. We had a really fucking awesome conversation about art, philosophy, comedy, and creating meaningful work. Zach is the co-creator of an awesome indie show here in Chicago called Shithole. Shithole is an underground show that happens at least once a week, sometimes as much as 3 times a week, and every time it's at a secret location. So you can catch it usually on Sunday nights, sometimes Friday nights, and sometimes Saturday nights as well. Sometimes they got Thursday night shows too. It's awesome. It's a really great show. You can email shitholeinfo@gmail.com for the details, because they're in a secret location every time. Zach is also the featured artist for October at the Frame Shop. You can follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Bartz, that's ZachBartz, and on Instagram at I'm Zach Bartz. Next week, I have a very big announcement that I can't wait to share with you guys. And you can also catch me performing next week on October 4th at Secret Size and Alibis at the Elbow Room. Doors open at 8 p.m. And on that same night, you can catch me at Chucklefuckers at Annoyance at 9:30 p.m. Sleeping with Sarah is brought to you by Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I've been listening to Where Am I Now by Mara Wilson, which is a really great perspective on someone who used to be a child star, is now a great writer. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. If you like this podcast, please subscribe on iTunes and rate and review. You can also go to sleepingwithsarah.com for more information and follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. We did talk about a few different quotes and other specifics on the podcast. I will have links to those quotes on my website, on the blog, so please double check that. I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. I can't wait. So let's get started with the show. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and this is my guest, Zach Bartz.
Hey.
How'd you sleep last night, Zach?
I slept pretty good last night. How did you sleep last night?
I always sleep pretty good. It's pretty easy to sleep. I got a little bit more sleep, I think, than usual. I went home after the debate and just kind of rested, and yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I was watching Survivor. I've been watching season 14 of Survivor. It's brutal.
Is that like the most recent season?
No, I think it's like 7 seasons back, but like the only reason we're still watching it is there's one of the teams who they never win. Like they lose every challenge. It goes like, they go 9 days without fire, so like, I end up saying...
Wait, they go 9 days without fire?
It's
what is, like actual fire?
Well, yeah, they can't win any fire. Like they're supposed to win the flint. They never get the flint. They're just like sleeping on leaves.
How are they not dying?
I mean, they look like it. It's really bad. It's in Fiji too, but like I've stayed up pretty much every night, like watching like 1 or 2 extra episodes.
Are you watching this with other people or by yourself?
I'm watching with my girlfriend, and we're staying up, and like, they lose again. Like it's like you feel sick because these people just continually biff every challenge.
Wow.
But, yeah,
I wonder if they ever win.
I mean, there's like at this point they're starting to merge. I guess
they didn't die because we would have heard about it on the news.
Yeah, there's no way Probst is letting you die out there. Like they got the medical team shows up in a fucking second. Like they're in the boat because this one dude they call him Papa Smurf. He gets sick. He gets bit by like 1,000 bugs. It's pretty fucked up. Point is, yeah, I slept pretty well.
That's good, man. Do you usually sleep pretty well?
Ish, man, I get some fucking crazy nightmares. So I'll have like gnarly. So I'll get good like 40 minutes of sleep, and then 10 minutes of just insane nightmare, and then did the nightmares usually happen like right before you wake up, or is it like? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm locked in them for a little while. Like I had one for a while where I was like fighting this fucking samurai for like. It was 2 weeks, so the samurai was just kicking my ass over and over and over again in a dream. I had a nightmare last night. I had a nightmare that I had a stalker that wouldn't leave me alone. Oh, that's fucked up.
Which is scary because that's something that's like could actually like happen.
Yeah.
But mine was like sending me weird gifts like at work, and my work isn't allowed to let you have gifts.
Okay.
Like have things mailed to you. Not like work's like, hey, you're not allowed to have any gifts.
For sure.
But I kept getting these weird things. Like, one was, like, a journal that he had, like, handmade and, like, wrote things for me, and that was really weird.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And it was a really weird thing, and I was, like, worried that he was, like, following me places, because he kept trying to call me, and I didn't know how he got my number, and it was, like, all these weird things, and... Yeah, there was no resolution to it. It was just, that was a different kind of nightmare. It wasn't like someone's gonna kill me nightmare, but it's like, maybe he might.
Yeah, well, fuck that, man. I'm glad you woke up. That's scary.
Yeah. So you do, do you ever paint about your nightmares, or?
Yeah,
Zach is he's a improviser, comedian, and painter as well.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Did I cover everything?
That's it. That's the main stuff. So,
and creator of an awesome show called Shithole.
Hell yeah.
Which is a secret indie show throughout different apartments in Chicago.
Yeah, anywhere that isn't a traditional comedy venue. Well, it doesn't charge money, it doesn't promote the shows. So everywhere from like garages and basements to like museums and music festivals and whatnot. So
it's basically one of those cool shows you kind of like gotta know where it is to go.
Hell yeah. Well, the idea is like, you're invested, and the audience wants to be there. And if the audience wants to be there, then they're not going to talk, they're not going to look at their phones, they're not going to leave early, they're not going to disrespect the shows.
Because they had to go out of their way to find out where it is.
For real. And there's an ebb and a flow with an audience and a performer, and they have to both want to be there, or else we're wasting everybody's time. And Shithole is a show where no one's asking us to do it, and we're not asking anyone to be at it. It's like, if you're there, it's because you want to see work, and art for art's sake, and yeah, so
that's awesome, man.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no, I'll paint nightmares. There's actually one that I have. It's the only 4 paintings I won't sell out of the house. It's these 4 red ones of the so the nightmare is based on...
Are they on the stairs at all, or where is it?
Yeah, it's on the stairway coming up. On the stairwell, kind of like the makeshift gallery.
He has like this huge gallery of stuff, like in this, like, you walk up like 3 sets of steps, and it's like a huge gallery he's created of artwork.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
What I do with it about a year ago is these 4 paintings, so they're based on the idea of having like a landscape painting, and then one day in the background a woman just like appears, and she keeps moving closer and closer, and it's like a red light green light thing, like nothing you can do about it, but you know she's moving. So what I would do is I'd take the first one, it's all red painting, 3 trees and a small little shadow of a woman in the background, and I'd have it at the top of the stairs, and it'd be the only red painting you see when you walk in. So there's paintings all around it, strategically placed, and when you walk in, you may or may not look at it. It's not like a breathtaking piece when you look at it by yourself. I don't think a lot of people stopped and really looked at it. But they'd see it on the way up the stairs. They go to the first act of the show. It's like 35, 40 minutes. And while they're up there watching the show, I come downstairs and I switch that painting for another painting.
What?
So it's like very similar. It's the same 2-tone red, but the trees are a little different. The texture's a little different, and she's moved about 4 inches downstage, so she's a little bigger. But the canvas isn't that much bigger, so it doesn't encroach on the other paintings that are strategically placed around it. But people go downstairs, now they walk by it again, and then they're outside for like 10 to 15 minutes, and in that time I switch it for a third painting, where the canvas is now doubled in size. She is like 6 inches downstage. The color's different. She's much larger. And then in the like 30 minutes they're up there for the last one, I switch to the fourth one, where it's the smallest of the 3, and it's just her face. So she ends up, over the course of 2 hours, actually moving to the front. And no one ever talked to me about it, because if they saw it...
Nobody noticed?
I mean, they probably did, and went fucking running out of the house,
or thought that they were like drinking or stoned or something.
Yeah, shit, I wouldn't want to talk about it. I'd keep that to myself.
I'd be like, I think your painting's moving.
Yeah, I think I got, some fucking ladies stalking me in the painting.
That is so fun, though. That's so cool. That's a cool thing that you do just for you. That's pretty... I have not noticed that, and now I'm going to look for it.
Yeah,
Is that the Sunday show?
Yeah, that's at the Sunday show. So those 4 stay in there. So now I can like look, because it was so much fucking work to do it too. It's like I'm just running up and down stairs with like 4 canvases and like still trying to do the show, and so now they just sit up there in sequential order.
Oh,
so
now they just do, people, yeah.
Because it's an investment for sure. But I try and like.
That's cool to kind of mess with them, though, in that way. And
Hell
did
yeah.
anybody, nobody noticed the times you did it?
I would tell people, I'd be like, so watch the paintings, look for them, and then people would, watch them happen and whatnot. But it's that bridge between, I've been doing improv and theater for 10 years, and whether or not I'm doing, like, visual work, I can't clock out of being a performer. And that's the coolest way to, like, still interact with an audience more than just saying, all right, paint's dry, do you like it? I signed it. Like, it's still, like, a active piece of art. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's what I like about, like, art installations and different types of things like that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I think that all that stuff's pretty neat. And you've been painting. So we were talking before the podcast. You like to paint little paintings and like hide them throughout the city. That's like a thing you like to do, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like, number one, I got too many. I have like 500 fucking paintings in my house, and like I can't.
Do you do them like every day?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do 1 to 50 a day, depending on like what I'm doing.
1 to 50?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on what I'm working on. Like last night, I live painted at Camp, which is a sweet stand-up show.
It's a great show.
I painted 25 paintings in 2 hours there in front of the audience.
So you can paint like really quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep, depending on what it is. Like that's why a lot of people are like, "Oh, you make a lot of faces," and it's like, yeah, because then I don't have to worry about what I'm gonna do. Because like a lot of people will look at a blank canvas and go, "All right, like." I gotta make some fine art. What am I gonna make some flowers? Am I gonna make some boats? Am I gonna make a sunset? And for me, I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna make a face. And then it's less about what I'm doing and more about what I'm like taking away from what I'm already doing. In the same vein of creating a character through improv or through the stage, just in any capacity, I'm just discovering and making choices to discover a face on a canvas and determine like, okay, this one's going to be a minimalist watercolor piece, just the eyes and the nose, and then I'm going to do the mouth. And like, since I know where the strokes go for the most part, and I just make a few bold moves, like, okay, she's got a bow in her hair, she's got eyelashes, he's got mutton chops, like, make these big decisions fast, and then it's done. And then while this one painting is drying, maybe, I'll go to another painting that's already dry, and then finish, like, the line work that I can't do when the paint's still wet.
Oh,
so it's like
multitasking.
What? Exactly. Well, just like not waiting for the paint to dry, for lack of a better word, like doing something else. Because like you'll finish one, you'll be like, oh, fuck, like what am I gonna do? It's like staring at a crock pot. You're just
I think that's such a great metaphor for life and how you like live. You know, like not waiting for the paint to dry to finish something else. I feel like that's like how I try to be with the things I'm trying to pursue and and all that, and try to just keep working. And it seems like you're the same way.
Well, it's just having that like. When your focus is stuck on one thing, like, it consumes you and you can't get past it, and it can never happen fast enough. It's like when you're sitting at work and you're just, like, waiting for it to be time to go home. It's like, if you can't busy yourself with something else, like, it's like purgatory, you know? And if you can,
blocks you creatively.
For real. It's just, I mean, you're just stagnant. So if you can shift that focus and, like, snowball some energy in a different way, then before you know it, you know, what you wanted to happen originally is already done because you're not sitting there waiting for it to happen.
I definitely think that I'm way more productive the busier I am. Like,
hell yeah.
Like, I feel like I do a lot. I'm ambitious. I'm not gonna lie. I do a lot of things, and there's still more I want to do. And I keep thinking, am I gonna have time for this? I'm like, no, I'll make time for it. Yep. I'll figure it out.
That's some of the best advice my grandma ever told me was, if you want anything done, ask the busiest person you know. Because that person holds themselves accountable, they have momentum, and they have discipline, that they want to make shit happen, you know? And it's like lifting fucking weights. Like, after a while, 20 pounds doesn't feel as much, so you start lifting 30 pounds and 40 pounds. And by the end, what looks like a lot for some people is just, you've just built up a tolerance or a resistance to it. So if you're like, oh shit, I already work 6 days a week, like, yeah, give me 2 more things. Like, I can do that while that paint's drying. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's how I feel too. So like, I've been writing something collaboratively with somebody else, but then I've also got like the podcast and other things. So it's like, like while we're working through this process, because you can't rush some of that stuff. You know, I'm also going to be doing the podcast. I'm also going to be doing stand up, and it's about doing all that. And you do that too, because you do improv as well as running your show and. Because you're with the
Narnar Shred Town.
Narnar Shred Town. Yeah. I love, that's fun. I started at improv. That's what I started with comedy, and I love it, but I haven't done it in a long time.
I don't play with anyone except for those 2 dudes because they're my best friends. Like, we're not a troupe of circumstance. Like, me and Kevin have been playing together every week since 2012 on just different teams and whatnot. So it's like, we can take chances with each other. Like, I don't have to worry about ever crossing a line with him because we have inherent respect for each other and for what we want to do in terms of making art and just having fun first and foremost. Because we all redirected our lives to do this, whether you're here doing improv or stand-up or writing or, like, whether you're training to do it. Like, we all redirected our lives to come here and do this shit.
From Chicago. From where?
Well, I came from Wichita, Kansas. Like... And this is like, you know, my whole life. I'm in too deep. Like, it's this now. Like, I couldn't change if I wanted to. So, and if I can't do it exactly how I want to do it, then, you know, when I eventually attain, you know, because people are like, I want to be famous, or I want people to know me, I want to be loved, whatever. If you attain that, and then all of the days pining towards it were unfulfilled or sad or full of compromise, then it's like, is it even worth it? Like...
Well, it's like you want to learn and you want to, like, discover things about yourself in the process and life in general. It's not just about the art. Like, I feel like comedy is one of the best ways to actually create social change. And I know that doesn't sound, like, saying it out loud sounds kind of silly, but I think that because it's, instead of being on a soapbox talking about something, I think by showing something comedically, it can lower people's defenses about things and make them really see a different side and really open their mind to things. And so I think comedy is a really great way to do things like that. Like, I use it a little bit of a way to bring awareness to narcolepsy. You know, I'm not, like, sitting on there being like, oh, narcolepsy, it's so hard to be, you know. No, I don't do that. But I think that that's my little way of trying to bring something to it.
Sure. I think it's just context, too, of, like, you know, if you see a fucking infomercial for something, you're already 50% clocked out. Because you're trying to sell me something. You're trying to give me something. Whereas, like...
It's a mistrust.
Exactly. But if someone comes in doing comedy, and then it's still a catalyst to, you know, thought... It's a George Meredith quote. It's like, the true test of comedy is that it'll awaken thoughtful laughter. Like, the idea that, you know, anything that's really funny has, like, a 360-degree, like, emotion and like, there's humanity within it, that it resonates within us, and that's why we understand it. And, like, if we can hear it, laugh about it, and be like, oh, and then think, too, it's like, it's, you know, that's what creates change. And then, then go write your fucking medium.com piece. Like, then go do, like, your big, then go really, like... make your TED Talk, but, you know, it all starts with, you know, just laughing and thinking about stuff, so.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
But also just, like, having soul behind art, like, the difference between being a creative technician or career creative and then being an artist. Like, because if you're just making comedy just to make people laugh and get famous, you're just going through the motions. Like, you're not, it's like Pet Sematary. You got the fucking body, but you don't have the soul, and you're doing damage. It's not good. Like, you need to be like...
the thing is, I don't see why people are trying to do just to be famous. You got to do it because, like, I'm doing it because there's nothing else I can do. Like, you did theater as well, right? I did theater growing up, like, for a long time, you know, from 5 years old on, and I did it in college, and it's one of those things saying if you can do anything else. And I found a passion for photography, and for a while I was doing, as a professional photographer, I did that, and there was just something didn't feel right about it. Like, it was fine, and then I went through some personal things, and I was doing wedding photography, I went through a big breakup, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so then I stopped, and I had done improv and sketch, and I'd taken a little time off, and then I decided just to try stand-up, and then that's how I, like, refound it. I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, because I did that other thing for a little bit, and it didn't feel completely fulfilling. Like,
absolutely. And I think, and they all inform each other, like, it's all just an accumulation of life experience. By the fact that you've done things and at least know what you don't want to do, it can inform to find out what you do want to do, and, like, you can recontextualize the stuff that you take away from all that, you know, from wedding photography, or, like, and then put it into stand-up, because, like...
it's like, I don't, like, that's one thing I don't ever want to do again, is I don't ever want to photograph people on the happiest day of their lives.
Sure,
like, it's not, you know...
Hell yeah.
You know, like, it's fine. I've just been to, like, I've been to hundreds of weddings. Like,
for sure.
Like, it gets a little old.
Yeah.
But everyone's, like, different. I get it, you know.
For sure. I mean, it's someone's wedding, so it's hard to, like, have any...
It's important to them. I get it.
For sure.
But...
And money's money, so...
Yeah.
But it's, like, it's all forward motion if you don't give up. Like, and not in being a stand-up or being a writer, but in terms of just being an artist. Like, because You know, it's different seasons of your life. You wear different hats, so to speak. You take on different things and you work in different capacities, but it all falls underneath the umbrella of being an artist.
Do you think that all people that are art or do creative work are just kind of like lifelong creatives? Is it something that you think they're born with or people discover, or because I feel like people that are creative get me in a way that people aren't.
For sure.
Don't, you know, like the people aren't, you know. And I don't understand how that is, but I feel like my closest friends all have some sort of creative thing about them. Some sort of passion, something that motivates them to do that. And I feel like there's definitely a disconnect for people that don't have that. That are like, oh, what do you do for fun? Oh, I go drinking, I play on a softball league, and I watch sports.
Absolutely.
Like I can't connect with those people. Yeah. And I wonder if it's just some sort of innate understanding with creatives, like we just get each other.
Yeah, I think. Well, number one, like I think because the same capacity where you're like, hey, I did this because I couldn't do anything else. Like I'm doing comedy, I'm doing art to get a community and to get fulfillment, and this is just the way that I know how to do it. But then after doing it more and making more work and having to actually like articulate why and how, I know for me as an artist, I'm like, I want to connect, affect, inspire. These are the three...
Connect, infect, and inspire.
Affect.
Sorry.
No worries.
No, but you could infect somebody so much like that they're like, oh, I have to do this. I have to see this.
Hell yeah. Like,
there's a positive kind of infection.
For sure, it's a positive infection.
Bed bugs or...
So hell yeah. So like with this, it's like I wanna make work to show the people that they can make work and that they should show their work too. And I think everybody has the ability to be creative or to get that sort of thing. It's about a trust with yourself and then relinquishing a judgment, because there's the Ira Glass quote about our taste and our technique.
Yes, that is one of my favorite.
What I mean? They're not
quotes.
Matched up, and so people get deterred because they're like, I'm smart and I know what good work is and my shit sucks. And it's like, dude, then don't stop trying to make good work. Just make work.
That is one of my all-time favorite quotes. As our Usman introduced that quote to me a few years ago, and it has changed the way I look at things. And the way, for those of you that don't know it, Google Ira Glass quote. It is amazing. Basically telling you that the reason you got into this thing is because your taste is good. Mm-hmm. And I'm not quoting for sure. I don't have it memorized. It's a long quote. And the thing is that because our taste is so good, for the first couple years of doing any kind of creative thing, we're disappointed in ourselves because we're not as good as we want to be. And a lot of people will quit in that time. And they, and he's saying, don't give up. That happens to everybody. And it took him longer to figure that out than most people. And that just to keep going through and making yourself better and trying harder. And he used it as like writing articles, but I see it as like painting more paintings or getting up and doing more improv or more stand-up or everything, just continually building your art and creating that, and then you'll have a whole canvas of work that
absolutely. And so many people, it's like you can set out to make work and be like, I want to learn how to be a good painter. It's like, what does that mean? But if you just make the work, by the end of it, whether or not you learn to be a good painter, you certainly learned a lot of stuff. You're like, oh, I know that oil does not come out of sweaters. I learned that you can use grapeseed oil instead of turpentine, or else you're going to get bronchitis. I learned that you can, if you don't like a painting, you paint over it. And then now it's a new painting. You're like, oh, I learned that. It's like, I can leave something in the city and I'm done with it. It's like, I closed the book. There's closure on my work. Kill your babies, like just move on,
and that's something I've been trying to learn with comedy too, with writing. I've been writing a pilot. I wrote a pilot with Pavs, and we're writing a second one, but we've been about killing your babies. Like, we might love this joke, it might be my favorite joke in the thing, but if it doesn't serve the story right, and it's like helpful to have another person, because we're like, all right, that joke doesn't work anymore, or to throw out a joke and stand up that doesn't work anymore, or that maybe is too old, or something along those lines. Like, kill your babies. But it's hard, I feel like, especially with art, having something physical. Like, I've got some of my favorite photos. I'll never lose those because those are photography, digital, I have that. But,
absolutely.
But at the same time, like, I got some printed nice, and I'm like, I don't want to let those go. But
absolutely.
But it's cool that you actually paint original stuff. All your paintings are different.
Hell yeah.
And you give them away, and you let go of them. Like, how do you feel about, is that more of a, I don't know. I guess you don't miss them. It sounds silly, but is there ever any paintings that you miss that you're like...
Yeah, there's some that I'll see that someone has it, and I'm like, oh, shit, like, you have that one? Like, oh, like, I love that one. Or there are certain pieces that I've made that they resonated with me, or they represent a point of, maybe a point of focus, or an emotion, or something I was feeling at the time, or a discovery of, like, oh my god, I learned that I can take this window shade and I can do this sort of effect. And I learned it because I didn't have a watercolor, and so I tried using the Peruvian mineral paint, and then I discovered, like, whatever, like, and I'll see that someone has it, or it's like, holy shit, you have the painting that was a catalyst to a whole series of 50 other paintings. You have the first one. That's the risk. You have the one that I, like, and I'll see that, and I'll go, that's great that you have it. Because if I kept all of them, I mean, well, number one, not enough people would see them, and how much would it really... having the tangible aspect of it, does it mean that it'll make me learn it more? Like, will I remember this sort of, like, lesson more? It's like, I don't think so. To go with the connect, effect, inspire, I got to get work out so that I could inform and have other people make other work, and also, like, if any of my paintings, if I already made the best painting I'm ever going to make, then what the fuck am I still doing? Like, it's like, I'm not making paintings to make the best thing. It's, in my mind, everything that I make is the new best thing that I've made, because it's forward motion. It's like, I'm still making stuff, I'm not giving up, and, And,
you go to different periods that you have. Like, do you ever feel like, oh man, when I painted that, I felt like this. This is what I was going through. Or, I went through this breakup at this painting, or those kind of things, and you're looking back. Like, I remember that with photos sometimes, because I took some trips to either get away from things or experience things, and I was like, oh yeah, I took this trip by myself, and these are the things I was experiencing through that.
Hell yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and you remember the ruts or the grooves. You remember, you're like, God damn, I was so frustrated at the time. Oh, like nothing was working. Or
you felt like that survivor group.
For real, dude, no shit. Like, there are some, I went 9 days without fire a lot in terms of painting. It's like, I'm just doing shit over and over. I'm like, all right, I'll paint a 6-foot painting of a pool table. And then it's like, this sucks. Like, I hate this. Like, there's no, like, you look for the heat. Like, where's the heat? Where's the momentum? What hits? And, like, and then that also the challenge of, like, this is the bane of social media. Because I post everything that I make, and a lot of people will be like, oh, you're clogging my newsfeed. Oh, you're putting a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'm showing you to show myself. I'm showing you so that I can say, hey, I'm fucking painting. I'm proud of it. This is the best thing I can do. And I'm not gonna compromise doing it, because I'm not doing it for anyone but me. I'm trying to just make work and get shit out there. And then you put a painting up, and everyone goes, oh fuck, this one's awesome. Oh, this is your best painting. Oh, this is best. Do more like this. Do more like this. Do more like this. And it's like,
don't tell you what to do. Like,
yeah, it's like, let me just make work. There's a story of so Walt Disney, when he first. He made like Three Little Pigs. There's like a Three Little Pig movie. It's like that's what hit. It was like first big animated like movie thing, for lack of a better word, and it was successful. And everyone's like, dude, Walt, let's get more of those pigs, dude. We need more pigs, more pig movies. It's like, we'll treat them like Ernest Saves Christmas. We'll put these pigs everywhere. And he was like, well, I can keep doing the thing that worked, or I can do the idea or the spirit that led to that sort of, the circumstance, the product of the circumstance that of what I was trying to do. And I'm going to try and make something great instead of just make another good pig movie. And that's when Snow White came out. Snow White was the next movie.
And that was the big, yeah.
That was his first big one. And then it's like, okay, shit, I'm not going to do more Snow White stuff. I got to find something else. Like, I got to keep, find the heat, follow it, like, keep re-articulating it. Like,
and I think that there is a big problem with our society trying to duplicate the things that work too much, and people get really sick of it. I mean, that happens in movies, like like how many, Fast and Furious movies were there,
for real.
And like even Disney now, like having like a Bambi 2. You don't need a Bambi 2.
Nope.
Heads up,
Shit, no way. Lion King 1.5, and it's like, where the hell did the half come from? Like, all of it. I mean, and
I think that it's sad, I think that there are other stories to be told, or other ways to tell stories. Even fairy tales, like Once has done that, like there's other ways to do that. But I agree. I think that that's an interesting point. but I think it's become so much about the money, and that's the problem. Like, it's so much about the money and so much about advertisers and pleasing other people, and that's why I'm like, how far do I want to just get to the point where I can control enough of what I want to do and people aren't telling me what to do.
For real. And that's when you, for those moments where I'm feeling that, I think about the Impressionist painters. So like Monet and Degas, Cezanne, all these dudes, they painted peasant life and what they thought was interesting and in ways that they thought were interesting, and everyone was like, you guys suck, we hate you, we hate your work, and they're everyone's favorite. I
love Renoir.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, these people who, like, now any school in the world would be like, oh dude, yeah, we're giving you a fucking honorary soft cap, no problem, you're a doctor now. Like, oh yeah, I'd have Vincent van Gogh, I'd get the finest china out for him. And it's like, you have no idea who these people were. These were drunk, crazy slobs.
Oh my god, they were hooking up with whores all the time. They have like so many illegitimate kids.
These are just like crazy, goofy, wild, like dudes just starving themselves, painting peasants, and it's like, but their work was undeniably unique. And it's not about reinventing the wheel. There's a Twyla Tharp quote. There's no connections, or there's no new ideas, only new connections between old ideas. So it's not about making something new, it's about finding a connection between two things. Like, I think Cezanne had another quote that was like, don't paint the world how it is, paint the world why it is. Like, you know, it's like, you gotta just make shit your own way, find your own language, be loud about it, and people will probably start singing it with you. Like, that's what Picasso did. Like, people looked at Cubism and they were like, what the fuck? And then everyone was like, what the fuck? Yeah, hell yeah. Like, then we're doing it. Now he's like more famous than anyone who was commissioned by any fucking king, any 40-foot picture of Jesus. Like,
most people, statues downtown Chicago.
For real. You know? Like, all over the world. Like, dude got a paint on the bottom of a swimming pool. Like, that's so tight.
That's cool. Hey, if I ever have a swimming pool in my house, Zach, I'm gonna hire you to fucking paint whatever you want at the bottom of my pool. That'd would be badass.
So the thing that I think is so inspiring too about like Picasso, if you go to the third floor of the Art Institute, it's the European modernist stuff. You walk in, the first thing you see is old guitarist. His like most famous painting. Doesn't look like his Cuba stuff. He made it when he was like 22, and everyone's talking about the painting underneath the painting and how important it is. And then you walk about the equivalent of 30 years later in the gallery, and there's this in the back room in the paper gallery. There's a cardboard devil with a boner, and that's a Picasso painting that he made, and it's in the same fucking gallery as all of his most renowned stuff, next to Dali and everybody who everyone would love to gush about, and it's this stupid cardboard devil with a boner. And he made this like 30 years after doing like the most, prolific and someone might say prophetic work. Like, you see these amazing things, and it's like, it's not about, there's a guy called the Maestro, he's a painter in California. He says it's not about Picasso's paintings, it's about Picasso painting. It's about the artist doing it. Like,
well, there's some people too that just like their sketchbooks and their anything that's like discovered about them has been like so like, revered, and so like, I mean, like even like you look at Shakespeare's First Folio, and those earlier versions of the plays and those kinds of things. I mean, that is art in itself, like that's preserving that. And now in the digital age, it's so different because we don't have those physical remnants of things. Like, there are paintings still, but in terms of there aren't that many physical things that we hold on to. Like,
well, they're just appreciation of the process too, and like for us as artists, we're all like, it's product. Like, get it out there. But for me, a huge thing when I was a kid was I read Kurt Cobain's journals, and I was just like, I grew up in Seattle, and it's like I loved the music, and now I'm reading these journals, and I'm just like, it's not about what you make, it's about that you're making, and something I love about that third floor too is there's 3 Matisse paintings right now that are next to each other. One he made in a day, one he made in a month, one he made in 2 years, and they're all on the same wall.
That's crazy.
And it's like, one took 700 days, one took 1 day, and they're taking up the same amount of space. The people are seeing the same ones. What if, instead of making one painting over 2 years, he would have made 700 paintings? Like, what would those paintings have looked like? Like, you know, so I think about that in terms of just like, you know, we talk about making 25, 50 paintings. It's like,
I mean, that's amazing.
Make it, like, so.
You said that you read Kurt Cobain's journals. I liked, there's an artist, you probably haven't heard of her, Sabrina Ward Harrison is her name. I came across her book. She has a couple books, but they're like journals mixed with artwork. So she would do these things where she'd have like a journal entry and then paint it really big on a wall along with like a picture of her and how she's feeling. And I'll show you the book when we get downstairs. Yeah. But like I came across that when I was in high school, and she has 2 books. One's called Spilling Open, and she was like 21 when she did that. And then there was another one called Brave on the Rocks. Okay. And they were like a mixture of painting and journal entries and how she felt at the time. And then she's like an artist in San Francisco. But it was really cool. And that just kind of like turned me on to some more of that stuff as well.
Hell yeah. And it's like, that sounds so tight and it sounds so unique. And it's like, it goes with what we were saying earlier about the forward momentum. Like, she's taken her skills as an artist, as a visual artist, and as a writer, and together they inform each other and they make something truly unique and memorable, like to the point where we can shift from talking Picasso to talking her. Like, if what else are we trying to get as artists, you know? Like, what sort of longevity do we want with us in our work?
What I really appreciate about her, because I think I was a teenage girl going through shit, she was just really personal. Like, some days she's like, hey, I feel so ugly today, or I feel like whatever, and it's like, but then she'd have other things, you know, basically the messages, some days you feel like that, but then you can find other ways. But it wasn't a book that told you how to feel. It was just say, this is how I felt at this point in my life, and this is the artwork I created while feeling that.
And yeah, it's someone feeling, and that, like, we can't articulate how, we can't comment on ourselves. We can only just like emote to the fullest, and then let other people fucking figure it out, and like let that inspire them to be like, because if anything, it lets, you know, a high school student or maybe like a 70-year-old person, like, it's like, oh shit, it's okay to think and feel and express. And you know, we often don't let ourselves fucking emote, and like watching someone be bold, like it's only helpful for all of us, because it makes us want to be bold too.
I think that theater, do you agree that theater has kind of helped you feeling more bold?
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
So I grew up doing theater. I've done it since I was like 5, I guess, you know, and so I've done it all my life. How long have you been doing it?
I really started getting into it, I was like 14. Okay. I was like, and for me, the biggest thing is just like learning how to be fearlessly social, or learning how to be
comfortable. Were you shy before?
I mean, just as much as anyone. Like, you get in your head, you get self-conscious, you worry about, you know, social friction, you worry about like social structure and hierarchy, and like for instance, going into maybe a reputable theater in town, you see a performer that you've known about forever. I grew up in Kansas. I knew who all these big name performers were, and if they walked into my show, I'd get scared. And what Shithole taught me was a big thing, was just like, if they're there, they're invested, they want to be there. Don't worry about like who they are, like, or what they're doing, like, and like that's that sort of shyness, like, I would get for sure. And like, theater taught me to be comfortable taking risks and find a way to get supported, if not from other people, but just support myself. And that's a start. You know what I mean?
No, I think theater has taught me a lot throughout my years, you know, like, I think it teaches you, the social stuff, but it also, you know, teaches you to work hard, you know, because you have to go to rehearsal, it's very regimented. It's like, if this is important to you, you know, you have to work at it. And that's what I learned a lot from theater, was if you really want to do this, you've got to work at it, and you got to learn how to fail. And I learned how to accept failure really well. I failed a lot. There's a lot of auditions I didn't get. A lot of auditions I still don't get, you know, or even I don't even get the chance to audition for some things, you know. That's just the way it is. But I think learning at a young age, hey, you can audition for this thing and not get it, and it's gonna be okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's really, the only thing I wish they would have taught me in theater school is how to create my own content.
Yes.
So in theater school, I don't know, where did you go to theater?
Columbia.
I went to NIU.
Oh, yeah.
And so think about theater schools. They teach you to audition, and hey, this is your archetype. This is the roles that you should audition for. And they're like, you just audition until somebody puts you in something. It wasn't until I did stand-up that I was like, no, fuck that. If I want to be in a web series or if I want to be in a sketch show, I don't have to wait for somebody else to create that, to audition and be that perfect thing. Yeah. I can write my own shit and create my own show, which is why I have my own show that I do sketch, and I create my own web series if I want, or my own podcast or whatever the fuck. I don't have to wait for people to cast me for me to be their perfect idea of their character. I can do it for myself, and they didn't teach us that in theater school. And that's one thing I wish that they had done, because I felt so much more empowered when I felt comfortable doing that.
For real. And I mean, like, it just goes with that make work that we've been talking about. Just like make a bunch of work, but also, you go tell a big class of students, and it's like, go make your own work, and then suddenly no one's auditioning for your theater events anymore. Like, you got all these teachers who have no one auditioning for them. They're like, oh fuck, I wish I wouldn't have had everyone right there. You give people the fucking keys of the car, they never come home. It's like,
yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't agree with that.
Because you teach, right? So yeah. What do you teach?
I teach theater and improv.
Yeah, you teach. So yeah. But
the big thing I teach the students is make your own work. Go make your own work. Mm-hmm. Don't be an ensemble of circumstance, because you all can be pining for a goal of a great production, but it has to be something that supersedes that, a spirit of making art to make an impact, or making art to have a human connection, to connect, affect, inspire. And also, the biggest thing I want to teach is how somebody can hold the door open for someone else, or how can you support somebody in a social situation where they feel more comfortable. And I think that's the most important part, because theater is an awesome art form, but no art form is more important than life and living, and so if you can use it to explore and re-examine and enhance life, then that's the point of all of it.
Yeah, so I agree. I understand. You mentioned the ensemble of circumstance. Yeah. I feel like you mentioned that earlier. So it's is that you're basically saying a lot of groups that are just kind of thrown together and they don't care about it as much, and that's why they have runs places and then they fall apart. But versus something that you create Shithole that everybody cares about and you guys are so invested in, and then you make an effort towards, versus just being in something that you kind of like doing. Yeah,
it's just not having an ulterior motive, especially if you go through the comedy classes and whatnot. It's every comedy class, there's always the first day, there's two people that go to Starbucks together, and they're like, oh my god, we're doing a web series, we're gonna do this web series together, or you got an idea, I got an idea, we're starting an improv troupe, yeah, or you've been in these rooms where the teachers are look to your left, look to your right, these are some of the best friends you're ever gonna have, and it's fuck no, they are not. Dude, you guys all just paid $10,000, that's what you have in common, is that you paid $10,000 and you want to be here and you want to make work. But can you make work together outside of here? Can you guys, it has to be able to live without just we're going to get a run and then we're going to get another run and then we're going to make a show. And it's life is too short to just rehash these steps over and over. It's, there's this quote, it's a Basho quote. Seek not to follow in the footsteps of the wise, seek what they sought. It's not about recreating or following a rubric. Anyone who made anything amazing didn't have some sort of set standards that they went to. They had more of an idea of okay, how and why can I use my circumstance to create something that's truly going to be special and worth wanting to emulate. I do have problems with some sort of, it's don't work with people just because someone tells you to work with someone. Work with people if you guys really, truly work well together.
No, I think that's a good point. It took me a little while for the show I run to find the people that worked the best together, and we work really well together. And I'm super bummed because we're going to be losing one of our producers who's moving to the West Coast. And so it's trying to find a replacement for that is so hard. And it's not something that can be replaced.
For sure.
But it's also hard to find someone that would be that invested in the same show or that interested. So it's a weird thing to deal with, and it's it's like making me realize, man, like I've been so fortunate to be working with these 3 other people for over a year, and we work so well together, and it's like, oh, like, it's like you wonder if, like, is it ever going to be the same, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the best part of all of it is, well, it won't be the same. It's only going to hopefully be better. It's going to be more momentum and more experience, and like, these people can still make work in and out of your life, and you can continue to make more work. And
because we're going to be in this stuff for a long time. We'll all get to work with each other, do other, you know.
For real.
I really believe that. Like, I feel like that's why I'm like very much like kind of like, like, I don't like to date or be involved with comics. It's like, probably if we're going to stick in this, like, I'll know you for like 20 years and we'll be in and out of stuff, and it's better just to keep things simple.
Hell yeah.
I have lots in my bed, though.
Yeah.
For the podcast, mostly.
For sure.
Is your you said you're dating someone? Is she a creative person?
Yeah, she's a photographer, but
cool.
It's it's nice because it's just different ways that we can articulate our passions, and then it's also never a competition, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing if you're both artists but different mediums. I dated for a long time. I dated a musician, so it kind of was nice. And now I'm thinking, oh, like a musician would be good because we both have nights that are late. It would make sense. So like yeah, any musicians out there, like. Don't stalk me, but...
not the nightmare, yeah.
Yeah, don't become the nightmare, but, no, I think that would probably work really well for comedy, but I feel like there is this certain weird level of competition if you date someone in your same field.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing completely different types of art.
Absolutely.
Have you ever dealt with that, or...?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't help but... You know, especially if you're close to someone and they do well. Like, we all see other people's success and then for a second go... Oh, it would have been nice to get that too, you know, or like you're like, oh, well, I want something good to be happening to me too, but that's why the big thing for us was just like I had to come to an agreement of like, all right, I'm making work to connect, affect, inspire, like that's it. I'm not making work to make it better than him or better than her or better than like, or to shine brighter than anybody. Like I'm making work for myself and to be fulfilled with it, like, and it's...
So will Shithole always be something like this? Or, like, if you guys had an opportunity to do something else, would you?
I mean, we do a lot of other stuff, that's the thing, like...
But I meant, part of what makes it really great is that it's, like, a hidden show, and it's, like, completely supportive and free and all of that. But if there were... I'm just curiosity, like, if there were opportunities to, like... make it into a TV show or do something like that. Is that something you're like, no, I want to keep it pure, keep it like it is, or...
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just curious.
No, for sure. It's a great question. We talk about it. We had to, I mean, it's not something that we can skirt around because we have to, like, be conscious of what we're doing and what the, you know, the process of this piece of art, which is Shithole. And we're trying to make it so it's this untainted thing that this, like, our... fountain of youth, so to speak. Something where we can return and recharge, make art for art's sake, make it with people who want to make good work. It's less about my content and more about my intention, about just like make work. And then outside of Shithole, you know, go teach a class, teach people what you know. Go get paid to perform somewhere. Like, go sell your painting. But like at Shithole, it's like we're not making money. I'm giving paintings away for free. Like, we can like talk and affect,
give beer away for free.
For real. It's like you can. Shithole is
its own thing.
Yeah, we're not trying to, like, in terms of making it any big. Like, we've had opportunities to do TV stuff, and we just have to say no if if they're not sincere, they don't align with the core of what the show is, because our show's just, we got no time for ulterior motives. Like, there's too many other things going on for us to fucking care. So, I mean, I would dream, you know, it'd be great to do it like, you know, I would like to see Shithole in more museums, you know. I'd like to see being able to do that, like be able to bridge the idea of comedy not being this backroom art but being a fine art, you know. And how could we and more than comedy being a fine art, but like all of these different art forms, like, You know?
It's not, like, people don't talk about comedy the same way they talk about theater. Nope, you know? Yeah. They have different sections in Time Out for that.
For you know?
Real. But it's held to a different, I think maybe because it's not necessarily newer, because it's been in theater and things like that for a while, but in terms of stand-up and improv and sketch comedy, that's a fairly new art form if you're talking like last 100 years, or not even last 100 years, last 60 years.
Years. Just going really off like vaudeville and whatnot, and then the 1950s 60s stand-up and whatnot, and I think it also goes with what we were saying earlier about comedy being able to teach people is it's held in a different way because you can kind of get yourself in someone's brain a different way. If you think, it's a $5 show, you can drink beer, wear shorts, who fucking cares? Like, whereas you go to, now you're at a big theater show and you gotta wear a suit and you gotta pay $10 for a beer and you gotta clap at certain points and you have to understand. You gotta know what a protagonist is.
It's different. It's a way more accessible to other people, but it's also very subjective too. So I think it's very easy for people to be like, I don't like that comic, just because they don't relate to that comic. Yep. And so I feel like because it's so subjective in that, like, I could see a comic and like hate them, or you could see them and you love them because we get different things.
Oh yeah.
But I think that, like, in terms of like, there's a play that's really bad. I mean, I guess it's still subjective, but like if it's a play that's like really badly written, you're like, okay, we both hate that.
For sure. Absolutely.
But I guess it's the same with comedy if it's really badly written. But I think it's just there aren't as many things to compare it to, versus like theater or artwork or other things like that.
Absolutely. So. And I mean, I think, the stage is typically, higher than the audience, and people are, for lack of a better word, like looking up in more ways than one. Physically looking up, but also like culturally, you're like looking up to the theater stage, and like art, like pieces of art, cost hundreds of millions of dollars because it's people physically and artistically just like looking up and putting something higher up. And I would love to see comedy raised to that and the rest of it lowered, so find this middle ground where like art isn't so fucking inaccessible that you think, I should be in a big white room with one painting and I should spend $30 and you better not talk in front of that thing. Like, I love going to a museum covered in paint and being like, fuck yeah, this shit is awesome, because that's what these artists wanted. Like, that's the feeling that they wanted. And same with like, it's comedy. It shouldn't be this like, I go watch it when the fucking Bulls aren't playing, or I'm at a show that someone's on the pool table, so I'll watch it. It's like, no, people should be able to walk into a comedy show and say, yes, this has the same emotional impact, right? Really, it can be a catalyst for change. Wow, this is worth my attention. You know what I mean?
And that's what I also like about street art. About discovering street art that speaks to you. And when I was traveling in London, I came across an untouched, because a lot of times I guess they paint over it, but an untouched Banksy that had a photography theme. So that it was two people, but one head was like an old movie camera, and one head was an old manual photography camera. They're black and white, and so it was like a recent one. I was like, wow, I've never seen a Banksy before. The one I come across is one that is extremely relevant to me.
Nice.
How is that? Like, and I was like, wow, that's fucking cool. That's a better feeling than like paying money to go to a museum. And also there was, in another art thing, is when I was in Edinburgh, they had this van. It was a big van, and inside of it was a portable art gallery. So they had walls with different, it was small, but the idea is that they would drive around to different parts of town so that everybody could walk in and view the gallery.
That's so sick.
And I was like, that made me think of like some cool underground thing that. And I do want to ask you though, how did Shithole come to be? I understand you got your 3 pillars of what you want to do. Inspire, affect,
connect, effect, inspire.
Connect, effect, inspire.
So Shithole, I was producing a show in 2012, and we were starting to scheme on getting like new spaces and how do we want to do shows, and we're doing a lot of shows in like the Gold Coast, like in like bars where we're uninstalling stripper poles in order to do the show. Like, it's like really like, and it's like all the stuff on the walls are like pictures from like fucking Rolling Stone magazine. It's just like bullshit. It looks like Spencer's Gifts. You're just like, you're outside, with flyers being like, do you like comedy? Do you like comedy? Hey, will you spend $10 to see this guy who opened for this guy? Or would you please like comedy? Or like, I'm updating Facebook events for 5-6 hours. I'm clicking thousands of people. I'm BCCing people in emails. Like, I'm trying to get people to come see the show. And it's, for me, we were just like, fuck, there's got to be a way to do it without this sort of stuff. And I graduated this is 2013, in May of 2013, and I went to Edinburgh. I worked in the Fringe Fest.
You did?
So I was there for like...
Wait, yeah, when did you go?
2013, so this is, July to like September 2013.
It's one of my life goals to perform there. I want to apply within, maybe this year, maybe not. If I can have somebody else I can apply for, because I don't want to do a whole hour, but I split an hour with somebody.
Fuck yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe this year or next year, like, I definitely want to apply within the next 2 years is my goal.
I was just there doing internship stuff. Like, now I'm at an international scale every night, hucking flyers again and hucking Facebook groups and like being like, do you like comedy? Do you like comedy? Do you like comedy? And I would see all these shows at the Free Fringe, outside the Fringe. Yeah. You know, and like...
Which is how the Fringe started in the first place.
It's the point of it, yeah. And it's like people doing these packed shows, quality shows. They got tech, they got etiquette, and both from the performers and from the audience. And at the end, they'd say, this show is free, but it's a $40 fucking show. If you can donate, it'll let some other people see the show for free. And I'd watch these people donate $80, $100 because they like... It's like, dude, I just brought my 5 kids to this show and everything was sold out and you just gave us an amazing show. Or like people would say like, oh my God, thank you for letting me be a part of this. Like, I only have $10, but here you go. But still, that's more than what people would give. And we started to think about the idea of like, if I spend $10 to go to a comedy show, I'm only going to have $10 worth of fun. Or if I don't have $10 worth of fun, I'm pissed off. But if you do a show where you don't charge any money, and then you say, hey, this show is worth, you know, what we put into it, and someone's like, well, fuck yeah, I just saw a $100 show. Like, you don't equate a value before your audience has the opportunity to do that for you. So we had this garage. I came back, you know, it was like September, and we had this garage. Our buddies lived in this big 3-story house, and they had this garage they were kind of using. One Saturn was coming in, that was it. And Kevin Garrity was like, he's like, dude, let's do a show, man, let's do a show. And I'm like, dude, I got a fucking theater bachelor's, like, I gotta try and get some shit going for me, and like, I'm TAing, and I'm like, I'm doing fucking, I'm reading spec scripts and like Edgewater basements, like of churches, like I did like a 3-hour dramatic improv callback audition, like all sorts of like, I did so many different auditions for shit, I didn't get anything. And at the end of like 30 auditions in 3 weeks, I'm like, Kevin, buy the curtains and get some lights and let's do it. Let's use tech, let's use etiquette, we will transform this garage, we are going to use tech and etiquette to deceive and show people that it's not about where you are, it's about what you're doing where you're at. And I'm going to find a way that we can make it so that we can benefit from not doing these things that we hate doing. I'm not updating another fucking Facebook event. I'm not printing flyers. I'm not trying to accost anybody to come to my show. Anyone who's here, I'm going to know that they want to be here and that they're invested. And through that, their investment will allow the etiquette up from their end. The people won't talk now. The people, you know.
Yeah. And that's one thing I do love about the show is that everybody at the show, and they have like full shows, you know, people, nobody's looking at their phone, everybody is listening to the person, and that's why I feel like I have some of my best sets there. It's so much fun because everyone gets the same amount of time. There's nobody that's like the definitive headliner or something like that. There's no hierarchy with that. There's not, oh, this person has this TV credit, so they, you know, do this. It's nothing like that.
Hell yeah.
And then a lot of times if people go for free or just go for fun, you put people up that are just going to the show too. You're like, hey, you've done the show before, you want to come up and do 5 minutes, you know? And that's an even more inviting thing. I just feel like it's such a cool community feeling, and that it's created.
Well, thank you. And that's the biggest thing is community. That's what we're pining to get. That's what we're working for. It's like, if we can get that, then, you know, high tide raises all ships. Like, we just want everyone to do well, and so that we can hopefully go do more great things with more great people and more great places.
That's really cool. Well, as we're winding down, this kind of ties into I always ask people, we talked about dreams earlier, but I always ask people, like, what are your dreams for the future for yourself? And, like, hopes. And and then you can take that in any way you want. So.
For sure. Mine has always been, and still continues to be, is I'd like to be able to, as crazy as it has always sounded, it's a dream, is being able to go around the world and just perform and paint, and I would like to be able to go to any place and find a show that I could at least go, like, perform at, or at least get a fucking free beer, some tater tots or something, you know, like, go into a space and, like, be able to, like, contribute and be a part of, like, an artistic community. And it always sounded so goofy, and people are like, yo, you might want to get a little more concrete goal there, buddy, but, like, after Shithole and finding new ways and new products of circumstance to put shows up in unconventional spaces, or like painting and finding new ways to paint and to show and sell paintings, it's like, okay, maybe I can use these to try and accomplish this dream. So that, and having something in the Art Institute, I think that would be the coolest thing. That's like the undeniable dream.
That's awesome.
I would love for someone to eventually, 20 years later, to fucking smoke a joint and walk in there and see that and be like, whoa, like, okay, that's awesome. Who was that guy? Oh, didn't go to school, was just making work to make work. Like, huh. It'd be nice to walk people to the line of, like, what is your concept of a fine artist or a traditional artist? Challenge it, redefine it, and show them that they can do the same thing over and over and over again. Because that's what everyone's always been doing.
That's so awesome. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Getting deep into art and comedy and doing art for art's sake. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I always end with us going to sleep, so good night, everybody. I've been Sarah Albritton, and thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Zach Bartz. Again, you can follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Bartz and Instagram at I'm Zach Bartz, and catch him at Shithole. Email shitholeinfo@gmail.com for more information. If you like the podcast, please rate and review on iTunes and subscribe. This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can also view the video on YouTube or follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.